Okay, so we're recording. So this is Holly's plan, family vacation. Go down to the goal level here to make memories that last a lifetime. I love that. That's awesome. Her objective here by the beginning of March. There's your timeline. Select a destination and things to do there. So it's very specific with a timeline in there. Very nice. And then the activities we have down here. We're going to have a family meeting to discuss various places that interest everyone. Beautiful. Search the selected destination online for things to do. Beautiful. So really, really a very nice specific plan and, kind of a fun thing to do in here. So Holly, when you see this, very nice job. Okay. Let's go ahead and start going through the performance monitoring training here. And what we're going to talk about today, we're going to skip past here. First of all, a kind of a quick review of performance management. So as of today, you have completed the operational planning portion, and we will be sending you out a nice certificate to put on your wall that says you're now an operational planning expert. So don't go flipping goals and objectives around after this, okay? And then, so after you got the planning done, which you guys now have conquered, we're going to go into today is performance monitoring. Performance monitoring, again, is at multiple levels. We're going to talk about the dashboard first, which is what we call macro level or high level performance monitoring, which could be the entire department on one screen. It can be a single plan on one screen. So it's a group level. So the group could be a strategic plan, for instance. You could have a dashboard for the strategic plan. We're going to go into the USA Public Health Organization because that's where we know where the data is. So at least I'll have a clean looking dashboard in there. The micro level is down at the objective and activity level. And we're going to talk about, the charts and graphs and then what you can do to customize those. We're going to go into reporting. So there's going to be 4 different reports that we talk about today. We're not going to talk about all of them because there's a future training session that will take you through on 3-dimensional planning. And there's 3 reports dedicated to that. Without the training, the reports wouldn't mean anything. So we're going to skip those today. And then we're going to go into VMSG Public, and we're actually going to create a public-facing web page around the tobacco cessation training plan on your organization. So that way you can go in and look at it and play with it, whatever you want to do with it. And then the last step here, the reason we do the performance monitoring is so we can actually utilize the PDCA cycle. So during the do phase in here where we're executing, we're collecting all the information in the background. And all that information we're collecting is what feeds the performance monitoring tools. Then we're going to take that information and we're going to use the check phase here, which is comparing the plan to the actual. You may remember our objective to reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. So that's the plan. The actual is how far along have we come? And that's what's being fed back in here. If you remember, Steve Hansen was the objective lead. So he's updating that information as we go. The check phase then, once we do the comparison, we're going to decide, do we need to make any adjustments? The adjustments, again, could be to the plan itself if it's too high or to the resources to get to the plan. So this is a continuous cycle, and it's fed by what we're going to talk about today. And just a quick review of the pyramid here. So the organization is your health department. Groups is the structure of your health department plus any of the primary plans. So just real quickly, let's review your group screen here. So this is your group screen. The top level is admin or health department administration, level 1. The levels, so you guys only get down to, it looks like level 3 at the, do you even have level 3s in there? 1s and 2s anyhow. You can go down to 10 levels deep as you embed groups under groups and that sort of thing. So you got your strategic plan, your workforce development, CHIP-CHA, et cetera, down here. Emergency preparedness is a group. Our training sandbox is a group within itself. And we noticed we started at 1. So the training sandbox is kind of reporting to itself. It keeps it out of the reports and things like that for everything else in there. So that's your group screen. Underneath groups, then we have, oh, there's Holly. Hi, Holly.
Hi, I'm really sorry I'm late.
Oh, no problem at all. Emily, would you mind if we just go back real quickly and review Holly's plan? We did it reviewed and we're actually recording it so you could have that, Holly, but it looks like we won't need to do that now. But let me go back and look at your plan put in here. Very nice plan, by the way, real simple. So your family vacation, that's the one you just put in there, I'm assuming?
Yep.
Okay. The goal, I love your goal, by the way, to make memories that last a lifetime. What better? Then your SMART objective is really nice. By the end of March, your timeline, select a destination and things to do. So you got a specific thing you're going to do within the timeline. Very nice. And then under the activities, you got a couple nice things. You're going to have a family meeting to discuss, where we could possibly go, and then you're going to look at that destination that you choose and decide what you're going to do while you're getting there. And then I noticed you attached the activity leads down here. You set the dates on here. Uh, I can't suggest anything. It's beautiful. Very, very, very nice plan. Any questions or anything that you had about it as you're doing
No.
it? Emily's clapping for you. Good job, Emily.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's beautiful. That's just exactly as it should have been in there. So what we're doing now is we're going into performance monitoring, and basically, is all we're doing right now is just kind of reviewing the pyramid model. We reviewed performance monitoring with the first phase being developing operational plans, which you guys are now experts at. And by the way, you'll be getting a certificate in the mail to put on your wall about that I'm an expert in operational planning. Um, and then we're going to go into the performance monitoring, which is all the tools to monitor the performance, collect the information in the background, and use that to determine, do we need to make adjustments in the plan? And then the PDCA cycle itself is plan, do, check, and adjust. Now we're just kind of reviewing the pyramid model. So the organization is your health department, groups is the structure of your health department, plus any of the high level plans like you see in the bubbles up there. Each of those has a service or initiative, and you guys started your plan at the service initiative level, which, by the way, plans typically start at one of two levels, either the group level for a primary plan like the strategic plan, or a service or initiative level like the plans that you guys built in there. Each of those then has a set of high level goals. Each high level goal has a set of SMART objectives. Each SMART objective has a set of activities. So for today, we're going to use the same example we've been using: tobacco 2025, tobacco cessation, reduce smoking in high schools, reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year, and then the steps we're going to go through to get there: create the training curriculum, provide 9 training sessions per month, contact the local tobacco vendors. So the first thing I want to talk about is up here at the group level, we have what we call the dashboard. The dashboard is what we call macro level performance monitoring. So it can be the entire department on one screen. It can be a specific division, office, or program on one screen. It can be a division plus the subgroups under that division, which we'll kind of use the example here. It can also be just maybe my strategic plan, since it's a group within itself. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go down to the USA Public Health organization here, just because I know all the data that's in there, and I won't be sitting. I wonder where that came from. Okay. So down to the group screen here, I'm going to go down to Community Health Division. You'll notice under Community Health, we have level 3 groups, tobacco and WIC. So anything I do for a dashboard for Community Health will have the information from the first level subgroups underneath that. So in this case, when I select Community Health and go to the dashboard up here, this button, traffic light in the top right corner up here, I'll click on that. It takes it about 10 or 12 seconds usually to generate the screen. It's getting, in this case, thousands and thousands of data points put together in the background here. So it's going to include Community Health, tobacco, and WIC on the one screen. So the first thing I like to show people is this homepage button. What that does is there are 3 screens that you can set as your login homepage, meaning when you log in, you go directly to that screen. The default is the main menu, so it's this gray one at the top right up here. It has the same button. You click on the button, little dialog comes up, says, do you want to make this your login homepage? You say yes. Next time you log in this case, it would take you directly to the dashboard for your area of responsibility. Now, everybody who logs in is taken to their default group. It could be the department, it could be community health, it could be accreditation, whatever it is, you're going to have the dashboard for your default group. Now, once you get there, you can go select any group and get the dashboard for it, but the default is going to be your default group here. The other one that you can do other than the dashboard screen is the reports menu. And we'll be talking about the reports menu more today, but that reports menu, typically that would be maybe somebody like an administrative assistant to the health director, and the health director wants a specific report generated every week. So when this person logs in, they're going to go right to the reports menu. They make one click and they've got the report. So just kind of simplifying things. So again, if you wanted to come in this case, I'm the community health director. I logged in and I said I want to go directly to this screen when I log in because I don't want to navigate through menus and things. So I'm going to click the home page. It's going to give me the dialogue says, make this my home page button here. Okay, so now the traffic light up here in the top left corner, I call the big picture here. What that is the number of traffic lights in each status across all of community health, tobacco, and WIC. So you can see I have 2 red, 3 yellow, 2 green, and 7 gold in here. Now you also notice that I get the little click finger when I roll over. So I can drill down. If I wanted to see these 3 yellow activities, I'll just click on that. And sure enough, it's going to show me those 3 yellow activities. So what this allows me to do then is just, I can look at that and say, oh, I need to contact Diane and find out why we're still in the yellow here. Or I said, oh, I forgot to update that. I can turn it green or whatever I have to do in there. So that's how I drill down to anything that's on that screen. Everything, by the way, is clickable, not just the traffic light. Now to get back to the dashboard, I've got 2 choices. I can either go back to the dashboard button up here, or I can just use the back arrow. And if I use the back arrow, it's got to go in and recalculate the dashboard screen. The reason it has to recalculate, and you think, okay, I didn't make any changes. I should just be able to go back and display the screen. Well, remember, it's a multi-user system. You got people all over the department using the system. So in that particular case, somebody could be in the background making changes that affect the dashboard. So that's why we recalculate. And again, it takes about 10 seconds each time to do that. I can also look, and in addition to activities here, I can look at objectives or goals. So I can move up and down the pyramid. And then the schedule gauge you see here. The schedule gauge says that we are 7 days behind schedule. And what that's doing is taking all of these activities, which is like 14 activities, it looks like. And what we're doing is saying, okay, each one has a beginning date, an ending date, and a percent complete. So let's say the beginning date on every activity was January 1st, and the ending date was December 31st, and today is July 1st. We're exactly 50% of the way through the year. If the percent complete on that activity is 40%, it's 10% behind schedule because ideally it should be matching the schedule through the year. So it should be 50% complete if you're halfway through the year. If it's 40% complete and it's a year, it's going to say, okay, it's about 36, 37 days behind schedule. If it's 60% complete at halfway through the year, it's 36, 37 days ahead of schedule. If you had 2 of those activities, one was 40, one was 60, they balance out to 0. So what it's doing is taking all of those 14 activities and doing that calculation on each of them, adding it together, and it says overall we're 7 days behind schedule. Now, in addition to that, when we get on schedule, it turns green. So anything over to the right will be green. And you get down below that 60-day mark, 60 days below schedule, it turns red. So it's just a good snapshot. If you're 7 days behind schedule, you're not bad. I mean, if you talk about 14 activities, you could have one that's waiting on something and it's behind schedule or something. So probably not too bad. But this is where you look to start with your snapshot up here. Now, down at the bottom, we're going to drill down a bit. Number one, we're going to look at those folks we designated as activity leaders. So you see the folks down here in the column. This column here is showing me the last time they updated their information. Green is less than 30 days, yellow 30 to 60, red is over 60 days. Green is kind of where you want everybody to be so you know you're working with the latest data. Yellow would indicate that this person, it could be 31 days, by the way, to be yellow in here. So it could be that Diane was on vacation during the time that the automated email came out and she hadn't had a chance to update it yet. So it could be okay. You can check on it, look at the actual date and figure that out. Now you get down to Tom here at being over 60 days behind schedule. Probably worth a conversation with Tom to say, hey, what kind of training can we provide you to make sure you keep your information up to date in the system? Something along that line. The next column here, FTE. As you recall, at the activity level, we can assign an FTE value to everybody who's designated as a team member in the activity here. What you don't want to do, if you're using that feature to do budgeting or whatever, you don't want to overload people. So what you want to do is make sure that everybody's at a 1.0 or lower FTE. You get to a 1.55 and, Diane is way overloaded. She's probably going to pack it up and leave at some point in time. So the idea here is just to check to make sure you haven't overloaded anybody. The lagging column says I have an activity that is calculated to be behind schedule. That same calculation we talked about up here. Overall, Diane is 10 days ahead of schedule. So it's the same as this schedule gauge, but just for Diane in this case. So it's green and she's 10 days ahead of schedule. She does have 7 activities that are overdue, meaning that the ending date of the activity is before today and it's not yet 100% complete. and then the number of red, yellow, green, and gold. So that's view number one is my people. And it really is, if you're using the team members and objective leads, you get a really good snapshot of how the person is performing against their plan up here. The next one is groups. So what we're going to do by selecting that is where it says activity leader here is going to be replaced by community health, tobacco, and WIC as the groups that I mentioned here. So community health, tobacco, and WIC. And then basically the same information over here as you saw before, but related to the groups instead of the people. Then my third view, priorities, is the strategic priorities from my strategic plan mapped against everything else in the system. And we do that through what we call three-dimensional planning. So we're not going to go into a lot of detail here today. The next training session we'll do is three-dimensional planning. But these are the strategic priorities, which in fact are the services and initiatives from your strategic plan. And then the three-dimensional planning maps them against all your other plans in the system. And it doesn't have to be just the FAB plans. It can be any plan in the system that you have. So what it's doing is showing you how does everything in fact roll up to our strategic plan, and is our strategic plan all encompassing? So those are the three drill downs that you have down there. I'll go back to leaders now. Top right corner, my priorities. My priorities are individually selectable objectives that you personally want to keep your eye on. You're going to select those and they're going to appear on your login only. Anybody can select the same ones or they can select different ones, but typically it's going to be things that are red or yellow status because they need help. And they're going to be things typically that either you're working on or you've assigned to your team members and you just want to keep them front and center. If I wanted to take, let's say I look at this and I say, okay, I don't want to watch it anymore. This is the flag that turns that on and off down here. So when it's green, it shows up. When it's gray, it turns off. So I'll go ahead and leave that up there. And let's go ahead and add another one. Let's add this first one up there. So I'm going to go ahead and click this flag. It turns green. And now again, I'm going to go back to my dashboard screen through the back arrow. And hopefully there'll be two of them up there in the top right corner. Yeah, there we go. So we got the two of them up there. And just FYI, the traffic lights and all this data up here is real time. So if I'm sitting here on my dashboard screen and somebody goes in and changes this red to a yellow, it's going to turn yellow on the screen. So I can notice that. I might want to drill down on it, take a look at it and say, oh, okay, I don't need to watch that anymore. It's in good shape here. So this is your dashboard screen. Kind of everything you need to know, but we're afraid to ask about any group and its subgroups here. And your dashboard is available on your phone. So we talked about this a little bit here. If you go to the web browser on your phone and go to the same link that you log in on your desktop, the login.vmsgdashboard.com, the same login credentials, so the same user ID and password, or again, you can use your email address as your user ID and the same password. You're going to log in. And by the way, after the first time you log in, if it's using Google Chrome or Safari or anything like that, it'll remember your login credentials for you. So you won't have to go through that again. But this is the same exact information as you saw on the dashboard screen on your desktop, but it's on your phone. And we broke it into three screens just due to real estate. You can't get everything on one screen. So this is the top left corner, bottom, top right. You got the three different views on the screen here. And these little blue arrows take you back and forth. So just navigating between the different screens as opposed to having them all on one screen in there. And by the way, you can click on anything, get down to the data behind it. You can turn the My Priorities on and off just like you did on your desktop. So it's the same exact functionality for those folks who are out in the field and not necessarily around their desk all the time here. So any questions on macro level performance monitoring, the dashboard?
Nope, not for me.
Not at this time.
Okay, let's talk about micro level performance monitoring. Let's go back here. I'm going to go back to my groups and I'm going to go down to my Tobacco 2025 plan and navigate my way down to the objective here. So I'm at the reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year. This little chart right here is what we call micro level performance monitoring. And it's basically just a very simple line chart that shows you the status from day one. In this case, it was August 15th of 23. We started the program and we were at a 0% reduction, obviously. We rolled our way up slowly, got up to our 25% reduction up here. So this is just a timeline chart that gives me the information on this particular objective from day one. So I've got this chart available on the objective screen and the activity screen. Now, there's some tweaks you can make to this up here. First of all, I can say I want to look at a different date range. So if you've been using the system for a couple of years, which you guys have, you might want to go back and say, what did this look like for 2023? So I might want to go up here and say 1/1/23. And then I'm going to go over here and say 12/31/23. And then when I click off of that, you'll notice the chart narrows down. So we just have up through December 15th of 23 on here. So, if you got a couple of years, you want to look at the years individually, you can do that. You can look at, 2 days, you can look at a quarter, anything you want to do. Now, while you're doing that, you got the choice of time frame. Now, in some cases, let's say that we've been updating this particular objective every week. So we put in a new data element every week. When I'm seeing this chart, I may not want to see every week. I may just want to see one per month. So I'm going to go down here and select months. So I'm looking at one data element per month. And the question is, which data element? So if I was doing it every week, I'd roughly have 4 every month, right? So I got 2 choices. I can either say the last value, which would be the last week of the month, or the average for the month. Now, any kind of a chart that should be continually rising like this, you're probably going to want to see the last value for the month. If we had a little chart down here, remember we're going to do 9 training sessions per month at the schools here, and that might be going 9, 8, 10, 9, 7, 8, whatever down here. So it might be going up and down. You might want to use the average for, if you're still updating it every week, you might want to see the average for the month each time. So it gives you the ability to do that as well. So those are the timelines that you can change. This vertical type percent is set for you depending on how you select the objective. You may recall at the bottom left corner of the objective, you click on the little title and it says, am I looking at values or am I looking at percentages, and what are the titles that show up? So this is set for you based on the fact that we selected percentage as our measurement here. And then we have scale. So you'll notice that the top of the scale is about 22%. It's actually the highest value in the chart, in this case 20%, plus 10%. So it's 110% of the highest value. And that gives you kind of the most display on the screen here. So it kind of looks the best. My other option is 100%. So if I do that, and you look at it down here, you see that you got the same exact data. It just doesn't look nearly as good to me because it's kind of hanging down here and it looks almost flat. Whereas if you go to the auto setting, it's going to take us all the way up to the top. So you can use it. It's just more of a visual thing than anything else. Now, once you set these values the way you want them, and either you're a manager user or an org admin user, you got to be one of those two to see this save button down here. The save button saves all of these parameters that you set up here. So the auto 100%, the dates and the time frame and the data value here, it's going to save that. And what happens is, next time anybody who is a user goes in and brings up in this chart, this micro level chart here, they're going to see exactly what you saved. Now, if they're a manager or org admin, they can tweak it again. They can change all these values up here and save it again. If they're a normal user, they won't even see the save button down here. They can tweak it while they're in there. So if they want to look at different things and even do a screenshot if they wanted to or whatever, they can tweak those values temporarily. But when they go out and come back in, it's going to go back to the saved values. So that's what that's all about up there. Just kind of an FYI down here, and we're not going to get into much detail on this, but you're going to be able to, if you want to take all of this data, all these data points in here and export them to a spreadsheet, this little button right here does that for you. So basically what it does is creates a .csv file, comma separated value file, which you can double click on. It'll open up in Excel if you have Excel on your machine. So if you wanted to take all the data in here for whatever period of time, you can export it and then play with it in Excel if you want to do that. So that's pretty much everything that's in there. Okay, now, where do these data points come from? Performance monitoring history. Okay, let's go back to here. So I'm going to go back to my objective here. So this is my objective. Every time you hit this save button, you're going to generate a history record. So if I change the value to 26% here and maybe change Steve Hansen to somebody else, put a note in here, whatever, and hit the save button, it creates a new history record. History records are right here, hourglass, so history hourglass. So I click on that. Now it's going to show me basically every time this value was saved in here. So you see back here, and it's in reverse chronological order. So it says back here we have 815 of 23. Fred Erickson added a green objective. Here's the objective. There was no note, and it was at a 0%. And then you can see, people have added things, updated things as you've gone up here. The notes show up in here. The status shows up in here. So this is these are the data values that are mapped into that chart you just saw. And it's the status column right here. So you notice the status column has got all those data values in there. Now, a couple things you can do here. Sometimes you're going to accidentally create duplicate records. If you do try to create a duplicate record, you're going to get a little dialogue that says, you're creating a duplicate record. Do you want to do that? Yes or no? Sometimes you might want to. I'll talk about that here in a second. But sometimes you might accidentally create a duplicate record. When you do, it's going to show up at the very top because it's the latest record in here. So what I can do if I have a duplicate record and I want to get rid of it, I click on the date field over here. You notice it shows up down the bottom left corner, history record date. And then I can hit the red X and it'll give me a little dialogue that says you want to delete this history record. So, just to clean up things after that. Now you can also change the date, as you might imagine down here. So this date is 6/30/24. Maybe I've added a history record from back in 2022. Let's say maybe it was 8/15 of 2022. So to do that, what I would do is back here, I'm going to, first thing you do is just kind of do a screenshot of this so you have it on the side. And then you're going to go in and change all these values to what they were back in 8/15 of 2022. So whatever percent complete it was, whoever the objective lead was, any notes that were in there. This happens very, very seldom. But if you've had a program that's been going before you implemented the dashboard, then you might want to put some historical data out of a spreadsheet or something in there. So you do it in a manual process. I set the values the way I want them. I hit the save button here. It won't give me a duplicate record warning because it's not a duplicate record. And then I go back to my history file. And again, you have to be an org admin or a manager user to do this. But then I go up to the top record, will be the newest one. I go up here and I'll change this date down here to 8/15 of 2022, hit the save button. This top record moves down to the bottom and it becomes the leftmost data point on the chart. So you can create historical records if you want to. Again, typically that happens one time. So we just implemented the dashboard. We've been running the tobacco program for a year. I've got monthly data in a spreadsheet. I want to go in, and it's a back and forth process to do it, but you're only going to do it one time. It'll take you 10 minutes to do that in there. So that's where the data all comes from these charts here. So that was micro level performance monitoring. Questions?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Reports. As I mentioned, we're only going to talk about 4 reports today. So I'm going to go back to my Tobacco 2025 plan. I'm going to go to the reports menu, the blue one up here in the top right. The 4 we're going to talk about, the one you're going to use 95% of the time probably or more is the operational plan report. And then there is a team lead report is the second most used report. The team lead report says, show me everything that Holly's working on across the whole system at the activity or objective level. And then there's a partners report, which is just a list of external partners you have in a system. And then there's partner activities report, kind of the same thing as the team lead, but for external partners. So show me everything that Fred Erickson at VMSG dashboard is attached to an activity as a partner. So those ones we're going to talk about today. Let's start out with operational plan report. I'm going to click on that because I've selected, one thing I wanted to show you. Reports, again, like plans, can be at 2 different levels. They can either be at the group level or at the service initiative level. So now I was at the group level and there's nothing down here. This is what we call the cookie crumb, by the way, at the bottom. So if I roll over, it says USA Public Health, Tobacco Programs 2025, and then this would have the service or initiative, the goal, the objective, and the activity. If there's nothing in the service initiative box down here, the report will be at the group level. So when I scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the other 2 initiatives down here. So we got initiative 1, 2, and 3. Now let's go back up to my group screen here. I still got tobacco selected. We'll go down to my services initiatives. So this was 2 and 3. If I select tobacco cessation and it appears down here in the bottom, which it will, tobacco cessation, then when I generate the report, it's going to be only for tobacco cessation. So let's go generate that same report. Now, this is critical to know because if you're doing it you think you're doing it at the group level, and the report does not show all of the services or initiatives, you're going to say, what happened to them? That's exactly what happens to them in there. So you notice down at the bottom, we don't have the other two services or initiative. Now, the other thing to know is as long as there's something in here, it's going to generate the report at the service initiative level. Let me go back to my group screen. So I go back to here. We're still got Tobacco 2025 selected, but you'll notice it did not clear the service initiative box down here until I click on this again, and then it clears. So you could get yourself in trouble by going back to the group and forget to click on the group again, and you're still going to have only that service or initiative. So that's what that's all about. So let's go ahead and generate the report here, operational plan report. And then there's a bunch of things that you can do on the reports as well. So the first thing on a report that has vision, mission, and values attached, which this one does, you'll have the vision, mission, and values for the tobacco program. And we get down to the report itself. We have the group, Tobacco 2025, the initiative, tobacco cessation, the goal, reduce smoking in high schools. Anything that's in blue is in notes. You got the data source down here. We talked about that, having a place to go to get the information to update the planning element in here. You got the traffic lights, you got the people. So you got Steve Hansen over here. You got Diane, William, and Andrea down here in this particular activity, traffic light, the complete status, the whole 9 yards. So this is an excruciatingly detailed report. Now, there's other things that you can do with that. If there is a subgroup underneath tobacco, which there's not, you can hit show subgroups. So if I had this report for community health and I hit, it's going to show just community health to start with. And then I hit show subgroups, it's going to add WIC and tobacco into that report. So that's what the show subgroups is about. The date here, every activity has got an end date to it. Now, sometimes the end date is something you specify, and sometimes it's calculated. If it's the quality assurance activity, which is the one that's repetitive on a monthly cycle, let's say, and I say the beginning date is February 1st, then it's going to calculate the ending date to be today, February 28th here. So it's always got a beginning and ending date in here. So if I wanted to say, what was I supposed to have gotten completed in February? I can hit this little drop down. It gives me a beginning and ending date. So I can say February 1 to February 28th. And what that'll do is just filter out all the activities that don't have an ending date. In fact, it looks like this activity does have that ending date. So it would keep this activity in here, this one up here in 131.25. So it would not show up in there. So basically what you're saying is, what was I supposed to have completed in February? And on the other side of that, you can say, what am I supposed to get done in March? So I go in and put in March 1 through March 31st, and it's going to show me just the activities that appear in March. The one next to it here says documents. As you recall, you can attach documents anywhere in the plan. So when I click on that, it's going to basically show me all of the documents that have been in the plan, and they show up in green. So it says I have one document, the tobacco cessation plan. That's and they show up directly under the planning element. So under the initiative, we have that document. Under the goal, we have another document attached. Get down here to this objective. It says we have two documents attached. You may notice that the documents are semicolon separated, and you can have as many as you want, and they'll line wrap and everything else. So you can have all the documents you want to have in there. So it just gives you the ability to show all the documents that are attached anywhere in the plan. Over a course of time, you could put a lot of notes in the system. And sometimes there's pages and pages of notes in there. And if you're showing somebody the plan, the notes can get in the way, kind of, if you're trying to show them the plan. So that's what this up here. I can hide them. I can either put them in the row underneath the planning element where you see it here, or I can say I want to hide the notes. So if I say hide the notes, everything in blue that you see in here is going to disappear. So it just gives you a clean view of the plan itself. Take that back to the rows here, and all those blue will reappear on here. So all the blue's back. Okay, I'm going to skip over status for just a second. I'll show you why. Over here at the top right, you can say, what level do I want to see in my plan? So my plan starts at the group level all the way down to initiatives, goals, objectives, and activities. Let's say I just wanted to see the service or initiative level here. I'll click on that, and it's going to filter out everything. So I just have my three initiatives in here: tobacco cessation, secondhand smoke, tobacco initiation prevention. I still have the documents turned on, so it's going to show that document's attached. Or I could say I want to go to the goals, so it's going to show me the initiatives plus the goals underneath it. So only initiative 1 has goals. And then obviously I can go to the objectives here. And I scroll down here. We see we now have the goals and objectives. And then I can, and by the way, this is a very common plan level because the objectives are the target and how are we doing against our target here. And then I go down to the activities level and it's going to show the plan that we originally had in there. So you can look at any level in the plan. Again, objectives is very common. Activities is very common. But you can select any level. Now, let's say I wanted, let's see what we have in here. Green, gold, yellow. Okay. Let's say I just wanted to see only the yellow traffic lights. So that's what this status is. It's going to determine what I'm filtering on based on what I have selected over here at the right. In this case, I've selected activities. So when I filter to yellow, it's going to select just yellow activities. And we go down here, and sure enough, the only activity that's yellow is this one down here at the very bottom. So none of the other activities show up in there. Again, I could do the same thing for objectives. So if I click on objectives, it's still select to yellow. It'll show me just the yellow objectives in here. So none of the objectives show up under, even though they're underneath the goals, they don't show up because the only one that's yellow. So that's what the filter is about. So I can filter on goals, objectives, or activities. So whatever I have selected over here, I got the filter to do that. Now, let's go back to, that's fine right here. Let's go back now and say, how do I get this report out of the system here? We did a couple of things on this. Since it is a completely web-based system, and we want to be able to actually create web pages for you to be able to use, because sometimes it's nice to be able to put a plan or something up on your website so the community can see how we're doing against our tobacco cessation program. So when I click this button down here, this is the default name of the report, VMSG report.htm. You can change it when you get to here, anything you want. I'm just going to go ahead and save it on my desktop here. Wherever my desktop is, there it is. Okay. And I'll go ahead and save that. You can change it right there. You can change it to any report you want, strategic plan for Central Michigan or whatever you want to do. And I'm going to go ahead and open that report in a new browser window. So this is the report that just got generated. It is, in fact, a web page. So you can take this file, this VMSG report.htm or whatever you named it, and you can email it to somebody. It's going to open in their web browser, so I don't have to have any kind of special printing or anything like that. You can give it to your IT folks and say, please put this up on our tobacco program website up there. So they'll put that report up there. So it is, in fact, a report. Now, once you have it opened in a browser window, you can do anything you want to do with it. So let's say I wanted to be able to just print it. The browser has those capabilities. So the 3 dots up here on Google Chrome, I go down here to the print and I can say print it to a printer, print it to a PDF, whatever I want to do with it. So anything you can do with your print functions on your browser, you can do on this report. Now, I do highly recommend that when you print it, you flip it to landscape mode and narrow margins. The reports just look cleaner that way. It will adapt to anything that you set. So it'll scrunch them up and do everything you want to do. But typically the cleanest view is this view here. Now, if I wanted to go in here and let's say I didn't want to have vision, mission, and values on this report, what I can do is I can just click anywhere in the report and hit Control A on my keyboard, which is select all. And then I hit Control C on my keyboard to copy it. Then what I'm going to do is pop open a Word document or something along that line, whatever you have for word processing. So let's say we open a Microsoft Word document. We flip it to landscape mode and narrow margins, and we hit Control V. Control V is paste. It'll paste this entire plan in there, and it'll look exactly like this. The formatting in HTML, where this is, and the formatting in Microsoft Word and such are pretty much identical. So you're going to have a report that looks like this. And then in the Word document, you just go in there, highlight these, and delete them. So it gives you the ability to customize reports to add, maybe you'll say, I'm reducing smoking in high schools. I will put a yellow highlight on that. So that's what you do if you got it into a Word document in there. So every report is a web page, and then you can take and print the web page and whatever you want to do with it. But you do, in fact, have to save the report each time somewhere, and you can delete it after you save it if you want to. Okay, so that was the operational plan report. Let me go back now and look at some of the other reports here. So I'm going to close this guy, close this. I'm going to go back to my groups tab here. I'm going to select Community Health Division. And then I'm going to go to my reports menu again. So we're going to talk about the team lead report. Click on that. So these are the people who are in the group community health. I can hit all and I get all the people in the department here. We'll just go ahead and say, I want to see what Andrea Schoen is doing across the whole department or within community health at this point in time. So I've got some choices down here at the bottom. I've selected Andrea up here. She's an individual. If I selected group, it would pick all three of these people because they're within the community health division group. If I select all, that means everybody in the department. Now, I will forewarn you that's going to take a long time to generate, so be patient with it, but it will generate a report with the attachments for everybody in the department who is assigned as an objective or an activity lead anywhere in the department. Most often, you're just going to do a single individual here. Over at the bottom right, I'm going to skip this over for a second. The bottom right, I can select either objectives or activities. So where is Andrea Schoen, the individual, assigned as an objective lead? This button right here, the little magnifying glass, gives me an editable screen. So it gives me the same screen you've been looking at for objectives. So I can edit the fields in the screen and whatever I want to do. This button over here just gives me a report. It looks just like the operational plan report, but just for those objectives that Andrea's tied to. So let's look at the editable screen here. And here we are. So these are all of the objectives. You see Andrea's assigned down here as the objective lead. This is everything she's assigned to. Where this is handy is Andrea's retiring next month. We're going to bring John on to replace Andrea here. So I can go into each of these real quickly, go down here, hit the drop down, select John, deselect Andrea, select John, put them in there. So poof, when Andrea leaves, everything's reassigned to somebody else in there. So that's very handy to have. The other thing you can do is generate a report. Now, when you generate the report, it's going to be exactly that, a report. And where this comes in handy is if you're a manager and you have one-on-ones with your staff, let's say monthly, I can generate a report for Andrea. I can have one on myself, and I can show every objective or every activity that she's been assigned to. And then we can just kind of go over it and say, is there anything that needs to be updated here? Are there other things you're doing that are not on the report? Things along that line. So it's a nice tool to be able to do kind of one-on-ones in there. When I go to the activities over here, I got a couple of choices. My choices are, I can say whether Andrea is where she's just a team lead in this case, and if she's a team member, she won't show up on the report. She's got to be a team lead. Or she's just a team member and not the team lead, or I don't care, she's either. As long as she shows up in that team box there, she's going to be on the report here. So this only applies to activities over here because objectives only have a lead in here. And let's go ahead and generate the report for that. It takes a few seconds to generate here. But what it's going to be is a report for all of the activities that Andrea is assigned to. And there we go. Okay, so what you might notice is that everything above the activity level is in gray. So what we're saying is focus on the activities. That's what the report was all about, was these activities down here. So these are all the activities. You'll notice that Diane is the lead, or Andrea is the lead up here. She's now a team member down here. Remember, I selected either. So she shows up on every activity that she's been assigned, either a team member or a team lead in here. Again, print off the report, give Andrea a copy, give you a copy, and kind of go through the review here. So that's the team lead report. This is kind of the second most used report that you'll find out there. The next report we're going to talk about is the partners report. And so all this is a list of partners. Now, I know we have some in here. So we have 4 partners in here. You can see the list of them down here. On the left side is the partner organization. And I got some choices on the right side. Do I want to print the selected partner only, in this case, VMSG dashboard? I'm going to say no, I want to see them all. So I'm going to say no. Do I want contacts? So the people who are the contacts within the organizations, I'll say yes. And then do I want the detail, meaning do I want email addresses, phone numbers, all that stuff? I'll say yes. And we'll generate the report. And that's all it is. It's a simple report. So up here you can see for Andrea's car seat installation, got the address. Get off here. You got the address, you got the people. Fred and Andrea are the contacts in there. You got their name, phone number, fax number, everything you want to know, but we're afraid to ask. And that's all it is a report of the partners, where it comes in handy when you get lots and lots of partners in the system. Just be able to look at it and say, oh, Bill's car seat installation is no longer working with us, or they went out of business or whatever. So we can go into our partners and take them out of there. And the last report we want to talk about here is the partner activities report. So again, on the left side is the partner organization. On the right side is the contact. Now you might notice you can have as many contacts as you want. In this case, you got Fred and Andrea under Andrea's car seat and just Fred under here, but you can have 100 contacts in there if you want to. Same kind of a thing. What I'm looking at here is where is on the, if I select the left side, this magnifying glass is again an editable screen, and the report is just a report like I just showed you in there. But it's where the partners are attached versus the internal folks. If I select the ones on the left over here, it's going to be where VMSG dashboard, no matter who the user is. So if I had 10 users over here, it would show VMSG dashboard with any or all of the users in there. And I would get either the editable screen or the report. Over here on the right, it's just where Fred Erickson is assigned. So let's go say I want to see every place that Fred Erickson is assigned as the partner on an activity here. And again, on the editable screen here. And as it calculates in the background, here we go. So these are the three activities that you'll notice VMSG Fred Erickson is the external partner down there. So again, VMSG is going away and you're going to bring somebody else in as the partner. Here's the way to change it. It's real simple because you're going to get just to those ones that you need to work on in there. Or Fred Erickson is left and somebody else, Andrea came in or something along that line. So you can just go down and change the contact name on there. So that's all in there. So those are the reports I wanted to talk about today. Again, the reports that we'll talk about after the next training is the category tag report, the categorization report, and the categories report. This is all part of three-dimensional planning, or how do we cross-reference everything in the system here. So before I go on to VMSD Public, any questions about reports?
No, I just was wondering though. I thought we were combining our next training with this one. If not, I might need to reschedule because I have another meeting that came up.
Oh, I'm sorry. When is your next meeting? In 7 minutes?
No, I think we had another VMSG meet training on March 4th or something, but then I think last time we met, you had mentioned we could combine it with this one and then we wouldn't need that fourth one.
Yeah. Okay. Let me take a look and see, because what I think Andrea scheduled them and she didn't realize we were just doing it this way. Let me look at my calendar here. Say March 4th. Yes. So she had you. Yeah. No, this is what we're doing today. So we can just cancel that other meeting.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah. I because it'll only take a few minutes to go review the plans. Why waste the time and not just go through this?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, I'll have Andrea send you a cancellation on that meeting. What we do want to do though is maybe a couple weeks or a month from now, we want to get the three-dimensional planning training going. So I'll have her work with you on that and set up something, because you kind of got to be in the system and understanding building plans and that sort of stuff before the three-dimensional planning makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's go back and build a VMSD public web page. So I'm going to go back to your organization here. Central Michigan. Okay. And I'm going to go down to our groups. You can build VMSD public web pages out of any planning elements in the system from the group level all the way down. So I'm going to go down to the Tobacco 2025 group. And I'm going to go down and select the tobacco cessation. The second one we did, the first one was a different group. So we're going to use this one down here. And then I'm going to say we're going to go down to the reduce smoking in high schools. So if I went back, let's go back to here. Tobacco cessation is the first one. This button right here is VMSD public. So when I click on that, it's going to say, what level do you want to summarize? I'm summarizing traffic lights. So I'm going to say the goal, objective, or activity level. Let's go ahead and get the activity level here. You can do any of them. And you can do multiple rows to get one for objectives, one for activities. So what we're saying is this is the activity summary for the initiative tobacco cessation. And you'll notice the rollover says we have 3 gold, 3 green, and 1 red, and we're 56 days ahead of schedule. So that's great. We'll keep that one. I'm going to save it. So it shows up. Now, these are some ones that we've done before. The select over here, this checkbox determines what is going to appear on the web page. So if I select it, it's going to be on the web page. The sort order over here that you see determines what order they appear in. That's all it is. It's just sorting by that number. So if I wanted to move this back up here ahead of this one, I can change this number down here to 85 and it'll move up here. So just a quick sort order. Now, underneath our goals, we have reduce smoking in high school. So let's go ahead and build a row for that one. It'll probably be the same as we just did. In fact, let's do the reduce smoking in high school at the objective level. So it'll be a little bit different here. So there we go. So we have one green, one yellow objective, still 56 days ahead of schedule. And our goal here is to reduce smoking in high schools. We'll save that. Now we're going to go down to the objectives. Let's get each of the objectives in here. So again, the same button here on the objective screen. And it's summarizing, it can't summarize itself, so it's summarizing the activities. It says we have one yellow activity in there. Go ahead and save that. And then I'll go back to the other objective here. And I'll grab that. And again, it says we have one green activity and 10 days ahead of schedule. So these are the 4 indicator rows that will appear on the web page. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the export right here. And it says, do I want to overwrite or create a new web page? The reason this is nice to have in there is because I can go back after I've created a web page and I gave the link to our IT folks to put on a website. I want to update the data behind it without having to change the link. So that's what this is all about. You would overwrite the same link that you had. In this case, we're going to create new. And then here it is. So we have the entire tobacco cessation initiative. We have the goal down here, and we have each of the objectives down here. So this is the web page. Now I'm going to go ahead and save it with the button down here. And this is the link, but I'm going to go ahead and put a description down here. We'll just call it training web page. Very cryptic. Okay, so now if I wanted to actually show this web page, I can grab this link. I click on it, it highlights. I hit Control C, pop open a new browser window here, new browser tab, Control V to paste it, hit enter, and it should show that same web page. So here's the tobacco cessation web page. Now, you can take this link and you can put it in an email, maybe send it to the board. They want to know how the tobacco program's working. There it is. Give it to your IT folks. Again, put that up on our tobacco web page up there so people can see it. Lots of stuff you can do with that. And like I showed you before, every month maybe I go in and update the data behind it. And when I get done with that data, I say overwrite that web page. You pick the particular web page, overwrite it. You don't have to do anything with your IT folks. The data behind it changes, but the link stays exactly the same. So this is the VMSG public web page. And literally after you do it one time, it takes you 5 minutes to build one of these. Now, let's go back over to here. If I go to the main menu and scroll down, I have VMSG public managed performance indicator rows. So that's the same screen we just saw, this one right here. Then you also have manage the web pages. So we've got the 2 demo and training web page. Okay, so we got the web pages in there. Again, this is where you grab the link to email or whatever. You can change the description down here, whatever you want to do with it, but you can manage those. Now, when I go back to the indicator rows, you may notice down here we have some crazy looking characters. This, again, remember, it's a web page. So this is HTML. This is the web language. If you're familiar with HTML, there's a bunch of stuff you can do with this. If you're not, don't worry about it. I'll show you the basic codes that we use in here to develop the web page here. But you can use any HTML that you want. So you can add graphics to the left side of that page there. So right here, anything to the left of the graphic over here is kind of a baby web page in itself. So I could go in here. So, we know that the operational plan report is a web page. So if I push that up on my public facing website and I put a link in here, it says for more detail, click here. And then when they click on this, it opens a new browser tab, opens that operational plan report in the browser tab. You've got all the detail that you want to have in there. So again, you can do anything over here you want. And if you have some ideas as what you'd like to do, feel free to reach out to me. I'll help you to code it. It's real simple to do. But let's talk about the codes that we actually use in here to generate this. So let me get past here. So there's basically 4 of them. Font, and basically they all start with a less than sign or an open bracket, we call it. font, face is Arial, size is 2. I think that goes from 1 to 7. Color, you can put in a code in here, but a lot of people just put in, dark blue, navy, black, whatever you want to put in there as the color. And then you close the font tag. This is the text that we're actually operating on, where it says text here. And then you're going to put a close bracket in here. So bracket / font closes out the tag. And then this text looks like this. So it's the Arial font, size 2, navy color. If I want to put bold on anything over there, I can just go in here and put in the bracket B and a bracket /B around the text, and it becomes bold. Italic, same thing, bracket I, bracket /I, italic text. I can also take these bracket I's and put them before and after the B, and I'll have bold italic text. And then the last one, and these, by the way, these are the 4 that we use in the code, so it generates these automatically. You don't have to know anything about them. You don't have to ever use them, but if you wanted to play with them, they're in there for you. BR is line break, just so it's a carriage return. And you can put 10 of these in a row and get 10 vertical feeds in there if you want to be able to do that. So that was performance monitoring. What else can I show you?
I can't think of anything right now. Thank you.
Okay. If you do think of anything, if you want to play with any of this stuff and it doesn't make sense, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to pop open a GoToMeeting and work with you on it.
Thank you. Could you still send the recording if that was all recorded? That way, if I need to refer back to it. If not, that's okay.
Nope. I just